John and I own and operate CHARCUT Roast House with our spouses, and we're here to talk about our passion for all things local. So we're talking about local today, and local for us and hyper-local started for us a long time ago, at the beginning of our journey. And that was when we lived in San Francisco. John and I spent 4 years there with our spouses, Jean-Francois and Carrie. We opened up a hotel there called the St. Regis Hotel, and also had the opportunity to open up a lot of other places in San Francisco and work at a lot of other places. And one of the places that I worked at while I was there is Chez Panisse with Alice Waters in Berkeley, California. And moving to San Francisco for both of us was just this super humbling experience. Especially when it came to knowledge about food products. We were finding that we thought that we kind of knew a little bit about where food came from with our chefs' egos, because a lot of chefs have really big egos. But it was really humbling for us because our dishwashers were telling us about where fava beans were coming from, and young, like, commie apprentice cooks were telling us where fiddleheads were coming from, and this went on and on. So you can imagine how humbling it was for John, the executive chef, and for me, the chef de cuisine, to be hearing these things. But it was such an eye-opening experience for us, just really kind of getting to know where everything comes from and seeing it firsthand. So then we were talking about after we'd opened all these other places, and we're trying to decide where to open our own restaurant, because we had wanted to come together to do our own thing.
And so I think that was something that we thought about long and hard. It was, again, Connie talked about the chef ego. I mean, we're in San Francisco. It's all about the food there. There's so many great restaurants, and there's so much talent there. And I worked in New York for 4 years before that, so. Where else to open a restaurant in New York? But then Calgary kept on coming into the mix. And I think there were a lot of things that we saw with Calgary, not only it being our home where Connie was born and raised, and I lived here for 10 years before I moved to New York. But also we had, our friends and our family, and we saw something very special that was developing on, the food scene and the culinary scene in Calgary. And I think something that makes Calgary very special is we could be a part of that, as opposed to going into an already established food culture and restaurant scene. We could be a part of the developing restaurant scene and food culture because it's so young in Calgary. So I think that was something that was very attractive to us, in making the decision to move back home and open CHARCUT. And that's what ended up getting us here.
So when we moved back, we had come from one of the greatest growing places on earth in California, and had already built in those 4 years really good relationships with our farmers and our local producers, and we knew all of their first names, and we wanted to have a relationship like that with the farmers that we were going to be using in Alberta. That's something that's really important to us, because this is now our bigger and better. And so we literally spent 40 days on 40 farms when we moved back. We did a whole bunch of research, called up the farmers. Everyone was very generous to take us on tours of all their local farms. We met Rosemary from Poplar Bluff. We met Kirsten from Spring Creek and her family. We broke bread right on their pastures and had picnics with them, and just really built these great relationships with these people that we knew that we were going to have long-lasting relationships for years to come. So that was something that was really important to us to kind of kick off our local movement in Calgary.
And I think it was really eye-opening for us, like Connie was saying, coming from California, but one of our first tours was at Jungle Farm, which is in Innisfil, and driving out, we were like, what is that growing in that field? And it was artichokes that are growing, right here in Alberta. It's amazing the products that actually do grow and thrive here in Alberta. So it was very, very eye-opening. So again, making those local connections was very important to us with the artisan producers, and all the farmers and ranchers and knowing those first names. But something else that was really important to us, even before we started building CHARCUT, was also the local talent and starting to, you know, build the culinary community for us and reintroduce ourselves to, you know, the chefs, their families, and whatnot. So we did a giant potluck in Connie's family's backyard where we invited all the local chefs. We went through the yellow pages, looked up all the restaurants, we called them. We didn't have anyone's email address. We called every restaurant. We asked to talk to the chef. We didn't know a lot of people. We were gone from Calgary for some time, and we said, we're going to be doing a potluck, you know, invite you and your family to come down. We're going to have a big rotisserie. We had a goat petting zoo, you know, for the kids, and we had like a bunch of butcher paper rolled out where the kids were, you know, drawn with crayons, and we had over 70 chefs and their families end up coming to Connie's backyard. It's a big backyard. We also wanted to capture this, so we did invite some media and some bloggers, and we wanted, you know, people to see what we saw, because it doesn't matter how good you are or what a great thing you have going if no one knows about it. So we wanted everyone to see what talent we had and, you know, what was actually going on in Calgary with the food scene, and it's starting to develop and it was about to explode. We wanted people to be a part of it at that beginning level, you know, so they could see and you know, be a part of that growth. So we did our giant potluck, got to know all our industry friends and, you know, those networks, and it was really great because a lot of these people have worked with each other years past. They never get to see each other, so it started to, you know, bring everybody together. So I think that was...
Yeah, so we kicked off our collaboration even before opening our restaurant, and then once CHARCUT Roast House opened in 2010, we wanted to continue that collaboration and the feeling of a chef's community in Calgary, but also nationally as well as internationally. And so all the time we invite chefs from all over Calgary, all over Canada, and all over the States, and just keeping these relationships alive with chefs that we have worked with in the past. And so we're continuing to bring in big name chefs to showcase how cool Calgary is and our local movement. And people are talking about it, not only in Calgary, not only nationally, but we were just at a national conference in Toronto called Terroir. We met some of the biggest names from around the world. Magnus Nielsen was there from Sweden, big name chef. Rene Redzepi was there as well, who's consistently named #1 chef in the world and has Noma, which is one of the #1 restaurants in the world. And they're even talking now about how awesome and amazing Calgary is, and they want to visit us and collaborate with us. And we've always said that one of our dreams was to make Calgary a culinary destination in Canada, and I think that everyone in this room can say that we've achieved that now with all of the accolades that Calgary has received over the past few years. But now it's our goal to make Calgary notice internationally, and one of the ways we do that is through collaborations with chefs.
I think that's an important element. I mean, we have so many interesting stories and you know, they should be told, but it's so gratifying going to these events and hearing people excited. I mean, we were just talking earlier with Jennifer that there's so much excitement about what is happening in Calgary. There's, you know, there's something going on there, and we're talking about chefs from Toronto, chefs from, you know, San Francisco, chefs from, you know, what's happening down here, because I hear you guys do a lot of stuff together, right? I think that's something that's very unique to us, and, you know, we should embrace it. Yes, we do a lot of collaborative events. You know, we are very supportive of all the other restaurants and their growth and you know, and them achieving, you know, greatness and reaching their full potential. And by that, you know, we all become stronger, and we could put, you know, our city on the map, like Connie said, not only in Canada, which it is now and it's starting to be established now, but, you know, internationally. People are excited. We have, you know, like Connie was saying, Magnus Nielsen, one of the top 50 restaurants in the world. He wants to come and do a collaborative event in Calgary. This is great. You know, where else, you know, it's starting to attract that talent and these people, because we're being recognized as being world-class, not only in, you know, arts and other things, but in culinary. So I think that's something that we should all be very, very proud of.
So, looking at the big picture, we already have great local talent. We have great local food and great local producers and restaurants doing extraordinary things. And now all we have to do is spread the word and let everyone know how amazing Calgary is.
I agree. So, I mean, let's spread the word, guys. Get out your phone, start tweeting. I don't know. Tell your friends. Anyone have any questions before we start the video? Because the video is going to start. And I am John Jackson. Yes.
What would you say is the biggest challenge you faced since you started setting up your restaurant?
Biggest challenge?
Yeah.
I say one of the biggest challenges setting up the restaurant. What do you think the biggest challenge was? Maybe bridging that. Bridging that. Coming from San Francisco, everything has been established when it comes to those relationships between the farmer to the chefs. There's a great network, there's a great support system that's in place to get the product to the restaurants. And I think that's something that we need to work on more in Calgary. I think it's come a long way, but I think that was one of our biggest challenges. Those artichokes that I was talking about, the big field of artichokes, they had no outlet for them. There was nowhere for them they just grew them for fun. They couldn't sell them anywhere. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I think that was one of the biggest challenges and continues to be a challenge is those relationships and making those relationships from the people that are growing a product to the people that are actually cooking the product. Yeah. They may have wanted a beautiful field of flowers. You're right. The only thing I was thinking about was, I want to eat all those. Oh, you can take them when they're babies. Yes. Hi. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's short. Yeah, it's very short, and I mean that's where techniques like canning, preserving, curing meats, and like at CHARCUT we did over 3,000 jars last late summer. I mean, we adapt to those growing conditions and that type of environment. The different cured products, cured fish, smoked, meats. I mean, you adapt to where you live for sure.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of our farmers work with us and sell a lot of their root vegetables over the winter time for us to use. So, and at CHARCUT, we've never said that we're 100% sustainable local. I mean, living in Alberta, it's really difficult. We love lemons, we love olive oil, and things like that just don't grow here. So, but we do embrace what we have, and so far it's been really successful.
But we do have great stories with some of our relations, like our olive oil is from California, from Angel Camp, and it's good friends of ours that we've had relationships in California with, and we've continued those here. So, Yes.
Okay, video.
Oh. Hi, I'm John Jackson, co-chef and owner of CHARCUT Roast House.
And I'm Connie Desousa, also co-chef and co-owner.
We decided to open CHARCUT Roast House in Calgary, Alberta.
We wanted Calgary to be known as a culinary destination in Canada.
It's really about evolving simple ingredients. I think that really speaks to what our restaurant is.
We do all of our own butchering in-house. We spit roast them on our rotisserie. We make about 12 different types of fresh sausages.
Back to basics and back to flavor.
And this is our finished dish, our Portuguese sausage and clam. We love Alberta pork because it's so versatile, and you can really see that in all of the charcuterie that we make in-house. Everything's made from scratch. Alley Burger was a concept that we came up with very early on into opening. We really wanted to create kind of an underground food scene. Basically serve this burger out of our back door, and people just went crazy for it.
We really want you to come down and try these different dishes that we've done and really get to experience that back to basics and back to flavor that we showcase in our menus.
you.